Next up, we have Expansion Pack, a litRPG Anthology, the Rogue Dungeon series, written by James A. Hunter, Eden Hudson, and a lot more others. This is 194 pages, $4.99, a little expensive. It's available on Kindle Limited, and here's the author's description. Monsters rise, heroes fall, worlds collide, welcome to the dungeon. Or maybe it should be like a, welcome to the dungeon. Sounds better, actually. Hearthworld Online is a futuristic fantasy RPG brimming with monsters and magic and valiant heroes. But now it has become so much more than just a game. When Roark von Graf, a magical freedom fighter from another world, suddenly finds himself in the body of a lowly dungeon troll, Hearthworld becomes the last bastion against an arcane tyrant from beyond the stars. The fates of 3 worlds hang in the balance as countless lives are caught up in the interdimensional war Roark has inadvertently sparked. Who knew one little online troll could cause so much trouble? And again, there are 8 authors in the series. I'm not going to be reviewing all of them individually. I'll just give you like an overall recommendation or review for the series. There's a variety of short stories that introduce readers to several Shadow Alley authors, who's the publisher for the novel. They give backstory to popular characters that you may know from the Rogue Dungeon series, or create one-off spin-off characters and little worlds. But they are meant. Most anthologies exist not to essentially sell books. They exist to promote the series. They exist to promote the publishers and the authors in the series. Like, essentially, they're meant to be like, oh, I like this little short story. Who's this author? What else have they done? That kind of thing, right? And this is exactly what it is. Each one of the stories is, one of them is so not particularly great, but most of them perfectly fine. I had various levels of enjoyment based upon like, oh, how well I liked that particular character from the series, or if it was like an original story world and it did the work to kind of connect you to the characters while they're doing whatever they're doing. And one in particular actually really caught my fancy. It's called Candyland. It's a kind of candy playland themed dungeon within this world. And that's just enough backstory as a defunct G-rated location, abandoned once the game got a PG-13 rating, that it felt unique. The setting is very unique, and it had good dungeon core stuff, and it focused the bad guys, but just antagonists, as the teenagers who decided to come back and farm this area, even though they're essentially like killing these cutesy little characters in a Candyland kind of thing, little dungeon world. And it was really, for me, entertaining to see the dungeon fight back without breaking like their G-rated programming. I was like, oh, this took some effort to kind of figure out, and I appreciated the work and while sticking to the dungeon core kind of like theme there. Overall, the short stories range from like fine to good overall. And your enjoyment is kind of going to vary depending on the particular character or type of story there. So it's hard to review these. So I'll give it a score 7.3 out of 10. That's a good review score. It does reflect that I thought one of them wasn't great, and most of them were like, okay. And one in particular was like, oh, this is really nice. So that's as good as it gets. That's 7.3 out of 10. Expansion Pack, a litRPG Anthology, The Rogue Dungeon.